What's going on, everybody? Yes, I am still alive. I know it's been about a month, if not more, since my last video. We installed Arch Linux, which you can see right here. We are in my Arch machine. And so let's just go ahead and get into it. Today I am just going to sit here and we're going to build a very basic, very rudimentary XMonad config to show you how to get XMonad up and going on your system. So hopefully you find this helpful. I recommend checking out XMonad. I know a lot of people think it's scary because it's written in Haskell. The configuration file is a little weird and they just think it might be a bit too much, but once you sit down and actually kind of start playing around with it, it's really pretty easy to get a grasp on what's going on and how to do things. So I'm really just going to build through a very basic starter config. I'm going to let you know what kind of what each of the things is doing. It's not going to be real technical, so don't hammer me in the comments if I misspeak on something, but it's just going to kind of give you an overall overview of how to get XMonad up and going on your machine, and then I'll kind of give you some links to some documentation you can use to maybe build and expand on yours. So you can see right now we are on my Arch machine right here, and if I do echo and we do desktop session, if I could type, and I don't want the double quotes there because that's going to screw things up. But if I do that, you can see we are on XMonad. I do have it installed. I do have a very minimal config just so I could actually work this video and actually do it on screen, but I'm going to be getting rid of that one once we get this one up and going. So that one's just kind of a very basic config. So first things first, you need to know what to install. So once you get Arch up and installed on your system and you've got Xorg and all that installed, you're going to need to install the XMonad and the XMonad contrib packages. So you would do a sudo pacman -s XMonad and XMonad contrib. You might want to do dbus as well. Should have Xorg installed. You can do Xorg the full package, or you can do each individual piece. But for starters, this is the stuff you're going to need installed. I've already got it installed, so I'm not going to do it again. But that's where you're going to start. Once you get that up and going, XMonad looks for its configuration file in a couple different places. You can have it in your home.xmonad. xmonad.hs, which is where I have it right now. So if I do an ls-a here, you can see I've got an xmonad directory right there. And if I was to cd into .xmonad and did an ls, you would see I've got a few things going on. I've got my build, I've got the xmonad errors file. This is the file you're going to create. And then this is the binary. So basically what's going to happen is once you create this and run XMonad compile, you're going to get the rest of this stuff. But we're not worried about that right now. We're going to move and do everything in our .config directory, because if you know me, you know I like to keep things out of my home directory and keep it as uncluttered as possible. So let's go ahead and cd back to home. Let's clear the screen. Let's cd into .config and hit enter. If we do an ls, you can see I've got a few things installed here just so I could do this video, but let's go ahead and make a directory, and we're going to make a directory called XMonad and hit enter. Now if we do an ls, you can see we've got XMonad right here, and now let's cd into XMonad and hit enter. ls, you can see it's empty. Well, from here on out we are going to do our configuration file. So I'm going to go through all the basic stuff. We're going to, like I said, it's just going to be a very basic configuration. I'm going to show you how to do some key bindings, show you how to do some auto start stuff, add some gaps or some spacing in between your windows, add a different layout. It's just going to be real simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and Vim or Emacs or whatever your text editor of choice is, but I use Vim, so we're going to Vim into xmonad.hs and hit enter. Now we have an empty file here, and we can actually just start. The first thing we need to do with XMonad is we need to actually import some modules. XMonad is a great window manager. It's very extensive, but it actually has a lot of modules you have to import, so the file can get pretty big. So just know that when you're using XMonad, when you go to update your system and everything, sometimes you'll have like 200, 250 updates depending on how big your file is, or how big your configuration is and what kind of functionality you have added to it. So first things first, we need to import, and we need to actually import XMonad. So we're going to import the XMonad module. That basically explains itself there. So we are going to go enter and go to the next line, and we want to be able to key bindings in XMonad can be quite convoluted. So there's a module out there called easy config, I think. So let's import that. And so we're going to do import XMonad dot util dot, I believe it's easy config, or is it easy util? No, it's easy config. Yeah. So import XMonad util dot easy config. And what that's going to do is that's basically just going to simplify the key bindings. We're going to use that to make it so our key bindings are more human readable and easier to define. We want to eventually have a status bar. If you use window managers, you obviously are going to have a status bar. I'm not going to set one up in this video, but we are going to want to have a way for the windows to realize the fact that there's a status bar and not overlap it. So we are going to import, I believe it is called manage docs. So let's do XMonad dot hooks. And I'll show you again at the end of the video where you can find all these different modules and stuff. I'm trying to do the ones off memory that I know I'm going to need, because there's just so many to actually choose from. So this video might go horribly awry, and I could have some of these wrong from what I remember, because it's been a while since I've actually built a configuration file for XMonad. I've had my configuration file built for quite some time and have it all set up the way I like it. So it's been a while since I've had to actually build one. So bear with me. This might be a learning experience for all of us, but so we're going to do XMonad hooks, and I believe it's manage docs. So dot manage docs. Then I think we're going to need what else was there for help on the windows? I believe it's import XMonad dot hooks dot manage helpers. So I believe that one was for window management help. Let's go down to the next line, and we're gonna do let's add a couple layouts. So let's do import XMonad dot layout dot let's do 3 column. So 3 columns. Columns. I think it's columns, 3 columns. So again, sorry, I'm thinking as I'm going and hoping I remember this correctly. So import 3 columns, and then we need to import, I know for a fact we need boy, I am on fire tonight, monad dot hooks dot ewm8hm, no mh, desktops. What this one's going to do is just basically gives you EWMH support for your desktop. It basically is, I guess, how XMonad talks to your desktop and knows what to do. So again, not very in-depth on the descriptions on this stuff, but just know that this is what you have to use for communication with the desktop environment and the window layouts and stuff. So now what else were we going to add? We were going to do some gaps between the windows. So let's do import XMonad, and I'm going to be honest with you, it's driving me insane that I've got some hooks up here and I've got a hook down here, and then we're going to have layouts separated. I'm not going to take the time to swap things around and get everything grouped together for right now, but just know that in my own personal file that stuff would all be together and spaced out between, and you know, so it's just driving me a little nuts looking at it, but yeah, it's alright. So let's do layout dot spacing. Yeah, window spacing? Spacing. Yeah, it's spacing, I think. Anyway, we'll just leave it at that and see what happens. So what we have now is we have our XMonad, which is our main. We have our easy config, which is for helping us with our key bindings. We have manage docs for when we actually have a status bar installed. Manage helpers is for window management help. We have 3 columns, which is a new layout. We have spacing for gaps. We have EWMH for working with desktops. Am I missing anything? Let's see here. I don't think so. I think this should be enough to get what we want going on the system. So basically what we need to do now is we actually need to call the main. So we're going to do main, and this is just like it says, it's the main function, whatever you want to call it. But this is going to be the main part of the XMonad config. So we're going to define that here. We're going to say main equals XMonad. We're going to do $EWMH, and then we are going to do $docs, and we're going to say my config. Now this is basically just like what it sounds like. This is the main function, and it's calling all these different functions that we're going to create down below. If I got that right. I might be explaining that wrong. It's been a while since I've read into it, but I believe that's how this configuration file works. So if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. Be gentle though when you do. I'm not an idiot. I just sometimes my brain gets a little foggy. So what we're going to do down here is we're going to go a little comment here, and we're going to say this is the main configuration. So this is where we're going to start defining everything. This is where we're going to start putting in the functionality. We're going to start putting in the key bindings. We're going to do all the stuff from this line down. The main configuration is going to basically call the main configuration, and that's where we're going to actually call the different key bindings and stuff, and those functions are going to be listed below. So let me rephrase that. The main configuration is going to call all the other functions that we're going to list below. There we go. That clears it up a little bit better. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hit enter. We don't want another comment, so we're going to do my config, which we can see we've got right here. Do my config equals def, which we're just defining it. So we're going to tab over. We don't want to go that far over. I can't remember if XMonad is super serious about the tabs and spaces and everything like that, but we just want to make sure that we are that I'm doing what I remember here. So I believe it was 4 spaces. Anyway, we're just going to try this. So we're going to go to this, and then we're going to do mod mask. And this is pretty simple right here. This is basically just defining what our modifier key is. So I am an alt key user. If you are a super key user, then you're going to do mod 4 mask. I am not, so I'm going to say mod 1 mask. And this is basically define mod key. So mod mask equals mod 1 mask. Pretty simple. So we're going to hit enter. We're going to go down. We are going to come over here. We're going to say, oops, we don't want to be all the way in there. I'm going to do comma there. And we're going to do layout hook equals, I don't want to tab that far over. Let's just do this. I like to have even spacing between stuff. Equals, and we'll say my layout, because we are going to create a function down below that is going to define our layout. And again, this up here, this my config, is where we actually call all the functions we're going to be creating down the line. So we're going to do that, and that's going to give us custom layouts. And then next we are going to come over here, and we are going to have manage hook equals my manage hook. You can see the syntax here is pretty simple. Mod mask equals mod 1 mask. Layout hook equals my layout. Manage hook equals my manage hook. And we are going to say this is going to manage specific windows. So then we're going to come down here, and we're actually going to do a startup hook. And that is going to equal, I don't like that. Let's do that. There we go. My, you guessed it, startup hook. And this is going to be auto start programs. So what we have now is we've imported some modules. We've got the main IO function here, and then we've also started our main configuration here, which is going to call all the functions or all the lists or whatever else we're creating down below. This is what it's going to call them with. So once we got that done, we are going to go ahead and hit enter here. Now there's one more thing we need to do. We're going to come over here, and we're going to do a backtick, and we're going to do additional, and we're going to say keys, capital P, and then we're going to backtick again, and we're going to say my keys. Now this is a different way of doing it than what it shows in the main configuration, but this is just kind of a way to add on to the keys. Makes it so you can actually adjust all the key bindings instead of just adding on to the ones that are pre-configured by XMonad. Again, that's kind of a very vague way to say it, but that's just know that this is one way of doing the keys, and it's just the way that I choose to use because it seems to be easiest for me. So this is going to add keys with easy config. Excuse me one second. So now that we've got that done, we need to, let's start with defining our keys. So we're going to come down here, let's go ahead and define key bindings. And from here what we're going to do is, again, this is going to be using the easy config, so this makes it a lot easier to actually define your key bindings because it makes the syntax human readable and it makes it easier to type out. So what we're going to do is we're going to say my keys, and we're going to give it the double colon, then we're going to do a space, we're going to do a square bracket, and then we're going to do a parenthesis, and we're going to say string, and we're going to say comma, and we're going to say X. Now you can also come here and do char would work as well, but then we're going to do that, we're going to say that, and then close that square bracket, and we're going to hit enter, and we're going to say my keys equals, and we're going to come down a line, and we're going to come in 4, and we're going to do a square bracket, opening square bracket. I think that's lined up right. Yeah, okay. So we're going to do an opening square bracket, and then we're going to do a space, and we're going to do an opening, which don't need a space actually, we're going to do an opening parenthesis, and now here we can actually define the keys. Now the keys are super simple to define thanks to the easy config here. All we got to do is, in double quotes, we do a capital M for mod, we're going to do a capital S for shift, and then we are going to do in excuse me, in the angle brackets we're going to say return. So this right here, mod shift return, we're going to close that parenthesis, we're going to comma, and we're going to say spawn, and then in double quotes again I am going to say alacrity, and then we are going to close that, and what this is going to do is this is going to launch the alacrity terminal. If I could type tonight. So we're going to hit enter, we're going to come in here, and again we're going to use the comma, and let's do boy, I can't type that. So then we're going to use the parenthesis again, we're going to do capital M, we're going to do capital S, and let's do A, and then we're going to do a comma, and we're going to say spawn Firefox, and then we're going to close that. We're going to hit enter, we're going to do space in here, we're going to hit that again, and so we could add another key binding here with the parenthesis and then the double quotes again. We could do mod dash shift dash K and do comma spawn and then kitty. So again, it's super simple with the easy config setup. You can basically just define your keys this way, and it's super easy to actually get them defined and ready to go. So then once you've got all the key bindings you want done, I really don't need much. I'm just going to use these two for now, but we are going to be done with that. We're going to close that. We're going to hit enter. Close that, there we go, then we're going to hit enter. Boy, I am on fire. We're going to come back in here, we're going to close that square bracket. So again, we've got my keys defined up here. We're using the easy config module out of XMonad. We imported up here. This easy config allows us to write our key bindings this way. We've called the my keys function or list, whatever you want to call it. We've called that right up here, additional keys equals my keys. Well, no equals, but my keys. So we've called that up here in our main configuration. So we now have some key bindings set up. So now if you wanted to add more, you can obviously just go along and just keep on adding to this my keys function right here. But we're going to stop there with that, and we are actually going to move on to manage hook. So if we go in, come down here, we are going to go to manage hook. And what manage hook does is handle specific window behavior. So if you want something to float, if you want dialog boxes to float, if you want anything like that, the manage hook is basically going to help you, and it's basically going to control windows. So what we need to do there is we do my manage hook, just like we have right up here, manage hook, my manage hook, and of course we're going to do colon colon, and we're going to say manage hook, and then we hit enter and we say my manage hook again, and then we're going to say equal, and we're going to say compose, not that, we're going to say compose all. and then we hit enter, and we're going to come over here. We're going to open again with the square bracket. We're going to say class name, and we are going to say equals question mark, and then we will do in parentheses, or excuse me, in double quotes, say we wanted GIMP. So if we want GIMP to float, we are going to give it the dash dash greater than, and we're going to say do float. And what that's going to do is that's going to float GIMP. So when we open GIMP, it's going to float. Next, we're going to come down here and we're going to do comma, and we're going to say is dialog. So what this is your dialog boxes. Any dialog boxes that pop up, we want those to float. So we are actually just going to come on over here, and we're going to say dash dash greater than do float. And this is going to float dialog boxes, obviously. So that's what this is all about. So if you want certain windows to open on, or certain programs to open on certain windows, you would define that here. If you want certain things to float, you define that here. So that's basically what that is. So let's go ahead and close that square bracket. Next thing we want to do is we need to set up some layouts, because we've got the mod key, we've got manage hook, and we've got my keys. So what we have left is my layouts, and we have startup hook for startup programs. So let's go ahead and set up some layouts. So what we're going to do down here is we're going to make a comment here. So layouts, actually let's say custom layouts. I don't think anybody is going to bother using this configuration file, but at least I can try to comment it so they can know what it's all about. But so, and this is also going to adding gaps or spacing between windows. So this is going to be our custom layouts with adding gaps and spacing between windows. So what we need to do here is we need to say my layout. Do you see a theme here? And we're going to say equals, and then we're going to say spacing 8. And then we're going to say $, and we're going to say tiled, and we're going to give it 3 pipes, and then we're going to say mirror tiled, and we're going to give it 3 pipes, and we're going to say full, and we're going to give it 3 pipes, and we're going to say 3 call. Well, what do you think that's all about? Well, that right here would be this added layout here, this 3 columns. We're calling that right here, so we're adding that onto our my layouts. So these are the ones you get out of the box. And then we're adding the 3 column with this XMonad layout 3 columns. So what we want to do now is we're going to hit enter. I'm going to come down a little bit. And then we're going to go over and we are going to say where. Actually, I don't think we go over that far yet. And then we're going to hit enter and we're going to go over a little more. And we're going to say tiled. And we're going to say equals tall 1. And we're going to say 3 100, and we're going to say 1/2, and this is the tall layout. Now tall is the layout 1, this 3 per 100, so when you're resizing the windows, it's going to resize it I believe by 3% or something like that each time. And then 1/2 is when you split the screen to open another window, it's going to be half. So you could set this to 1/3, which means it would take up 1/3 of the screen real estate once you start launching Windows. But anyway, so when it tiles the windows, the main master window, because this is the master stack, the master is going to be 1/2 of the window size. So once we got that, we are going to do, oops, I don't want to go on there. Underneath that, we are going to give it the 3 call, and that's going to equal call mid 1, 3 out of 100, 1/2, and this again is the 3 column. But I can't type that layout. So we have these 2 layouts. These layouts here, we have 2 of them defined here, but we have tiled, mirror tiled, full, and 3 column. Tiled, we have tall, and 3 column, we have 3 column mid, and so these are going to be the ones that we define here. We have spacing set to 8 pixels between windows or between clients or whatever you want to call it, but that is basically how you set up your layouts. Now, again, at the end, I'm going to show you where to find more modules. In those modules, you'll find other layouts. You would just add the layout up here, just like we did 3 columns. You'd come down here and you would add it to this, and then when you looked in the module in the xmonad.contrib website, it'll show you how you actually configure it and what you can define in it and everything like that. So you would just set those up down here in your row. So last thing we need to do is we need to set up some auto start functions. We want to be able to auto start some programs and make sure that we get like our PyCom and our wallpaper, and we have all that stuff set up. So what we need to do is we need to say let's do auto start, and then down here you're going to say what, my startup hook, right? So we're going to say my startup hook equals do, and then we're going to hit enter, and we're going to go over and we're going to say spawn. Now there is no module you need to import, extra module you need to import for our startup programs. That's all in the main XMonad module, so we don't have to worry about getting anything imported for that. But what we're going to do is we're going to spawn and say we want to spawn PyCom. We'll just say PyCom, and then we'll give it the -- experimental -backends, because that's the PyCom version I use. Then we want to do something else. We're going to say spawn, and we'll say network manager applet. So if you want your network manager applet up in your bar up here, so we're going to spawn that. If we want to do some wallpaper, we're going to say spawn, and I have X wallpaper, so we'll say X wallpaper -- zoom. And I'm trying to remember what I downloaded a wallpaper. I'm trying to remember what it's called. So let's actually go over to Workspace 2. Since I don't have a wallpaper, you can see I can't type anything here, but XMonad doesn't display anything. It just saves whatever you were looking at on the window until you get a wallpaper saved. But let's go ahead and launch another terminal. Let's cd into downloads, do an ls planet.jpg. So we're going to go back over here, zoom, and we're going to say home downloads planet was it JPG? Yeah, JPG. So that's going to set my wallpaper, spawn x wallpaper -- zoom downloads planet .jpg, home Jake downloads planet .jpg. Anyway, so that's basically how you set up all your startup programs. So you can spawn them here, name the program you want to start, and it should be good to go. So this is basically a very basic first configuration file for XMonad. We've got our imports up here. We've got our main right here, which is going to call our XMonad, or excuse me, which is going to call XMonad, and it's going to call myconfig. Myconfig then in turn lists your mod mask key, and it also does your layout hook, your manage hook, your startup hook, and your keys, which are all defined down here. And so once you get all that done and you're ready to go, all you have to do is run the XMonad recompile command and XMonad restart, and your configuration should take effect. So let's go ahead and escape. Let's write and quit. Let's clear the screen. Let's go back to home, and I am going to let's move, actually let's Ranger Control H. This right here, let's rename it so it doesn't look for this one. So let's do CW, and we're going to rename it for X. Let's name it XMD and hit enter. And just to be on the safe side, let's go in there and rename our XMonad.hs. We're going to rename that XMDHS and hit enter. So this way, hopefully it doesn't, and we can actually get rid of, oops. We can actually get rid of this, and this, so that way we know we are working with the configuration file we just made. So if we do an ls, we hit enter, you can see we've got xmd, so it's not going to look for the configuration file in here anymore. It should look for the configuration file we just made in home.config xmonad. So let's cd into .config and hit ls. XMonad, just verify everything's in the right place. So let's cd into XMonad and do an ls. We got our XMonad.hs. So let's go ahead and do XMonad -- recompile and keep our fingers crossed that I got those imports correct and I got everything syntax wise correct. So let's hit enter, and we don't. We have an error. So we have mod1 mask defining keys, my keys equals. Okay. So let's vim back into XMonad.hs, and let's go down here and see what we've got. So mod mask equals, what is wrong with that? Mod mask equals, that should be just fine. Mod mask equals mod1 mask. I don't see what's wrong with that. But then the additional key is the other thing we had going on, was additional keys, my keys. So we have my keys, char, x, key bindings. Let's see here. I'm not seeing what I got wrong. So let's actually go to workspace 2. Let's cd back home, and let's cd into xmd, and vim into xmdhs. Now these key bindings I know are correct, so let's actually see what's going on. So we have my config, additional keys, mod shift return. See, I did the key bindings different on this one a little bit. But I don't see my config equals def mod mask equals mod1 mask. Mod mask equals mod1 mask. So let's quit out of here and let's look at our errors again. I wonder if we have too many spaces. So I wonder if we have too many spaces, like I was saying. So let's go back over here. Let's go ahead and vim into XMonad.hs. I don't think that should make a difference, because it doesn't make a difference in this one. So mod mask equals mod1 mask. So let's go insert mode. Let's just take these back, even though I like them lined up right. Let's go ahead and escape. Let's write and quit, and let's actually run the XMonad recompile again. And we got my keys. Okay, so that took care of the mod mask right there. So see, moving that back. So my keys equals. So I don't know why this one worked with the big gap there and the other one didn't, but now we've got my keys equals. That's having an issue. So let's go ahead and take a look at that again and figure out what's going on. So we got my keys char equals my keys equals. So I don't know why that would be causing a problem. Let's take a peek here. I don't think I left out any type of so I'm just thinking here, I'm looking real quick, I'm just trying to determine what the heck I did wrong, because I don't really know. I wonder, I know how I started with string on this. I thought you could do char. Let's see if string makes a difference. I doubt it's gonna, but we'll give it a try and see if maybe that was the deal. No, that didn't change it. So we're gonna come back in here, and we've got my keys equals, and then we've got mod shift my keys, additional keys, p, my keys, colon, yeah. I've got my keys equals. I wonder, I bet you they're very finicky here with XMonad. So let's go ahead and write. I had a space after the equal sign. I had some white space there. So I just took that away. So, see, there it is. So if I go into insert mode and I go back and I write quit. So I had some white space after the equal sign. Let's see if that makes a difference. Nope, that didn't change a thing. So boy, I don't know what is going on with that. Well, I'll show you one thing we can do. Let's see what happens if we actually take this out. And what we're going to do is let's see here. You know what? You know what I did wrong? I know exactly what I did wrong now, and that is to not close my sometimes you just have to get ready to erase everything. So if we close that, and then we go ahead and write and quit, and now let's run XMonad recompile, and we have manage docs as an error now. So let's see here. We don't need that in this configuration file right now because I don't have a doc installed. So I just want to actually get XMonad compiled so you can see how it works. So let's go ahead and get manage docs out of there for now. And now let's see what happens if we run recompile. And we still have an error. Boy, this is, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. We can take docs out of there for one thing. So let's take docs out of there and write and quit. And that'll now give us another error. But at least we can figure out, okay, so full. We have an error with full. What is wrong with full? I see what's wrong with full just looking at it right now. Boy, this is what happens sometimes. You just have to keep fighting errors until you get everything figured out. Full should be capitalized. So let's capitalize that. Let's write and quit. Now let's recompile again. And there we go. We have exited with success. See, sometimes things just don't quite go as planned, but you just got to kind of hammer through some errors. That is one thing I do like about XMonad, is it prints out the errors, lets you know exactly where the problem is. But now that we have recompiled, let's do XMonad -- restart and hit enter. And you can see we just got some spacing around the windows. If I launch another window here, which it's not going to let me. Let's go to workspace 2, 3. You can see we've got our so my key binding is not working for Alacrity. So let's go back over there. Let's go into xmonad.hs again, and we're going to do right there. I can see the problem. Boy, I am on a roll tonight. Let's add the closing angle bracket, and let's write and quit, and let's recompile again. And then let's restart. That's another good example there, is just because it doesn't give you an error doesn't mean there is nothing wrong with your file. So let's go ahead and go to workspace 3 and let's try and launch now. There we go. Now we have that. Let's go ahead and launch another one. You can see we've got the gaps in between. Let's launch another one. So we've got master and stack here. So let's close those. Actually, let's launch a few more, and let's do, I believe it's mod space will toggle through the different layouts. So that's mirror tiled, and we have the spacing still. That's full, and then we have the 3 column. So yeah, look at that. We got spacing on all of them. We have the different layouts. We have key bindings that work. We have auto start obviously working because we have wallpaper showing. So let's go back into the configuration file again real quick. So yeah. I know this was not as smooth and problem-free as a lot of the guys on YouTube, but hopefully this kind of gives you an idea of what you can look forward to with XMonad, how you can troubleshoot it when you do run into problems, because inevitably you will. And yeah, this should give you a good base to start working with XMonad and building your configuration file. So I'm going to show you right now the different resources you can use. Be warned, I'm going to open Firefox. It's going to be blinding white, I am sure, but let's go ahead and do mod shift, I think it was A. Yeah, mod shift A should spawn Firefox. So let's do mod shift A. And there it is, blinding us all. And we're going to come up here and we are going to go to XMonad. You can go to xmonad.org, and this is a lot of the information on XMonad. We've got documentation, download, all kinds of stuff. If you come to documentation even, it'll give you a guided tour. It'll give you a configuration tutorial on how to basically set up a basic XMonad configuration. It gives you a cheat sheet, which is the overview of all the key bindings. You can also come to XMonad contrib.org, I believe. Let's see, maybe not. XMonad contrib. Let's just do that. So that's going to be at hackage.haskell.org package xmonad contrib. And this is going to give you all the different modules that you can use in XMonad. So if we come over here and say you want to add some actions, you have a launcher here. So you click on that. It's going to break down all the information on what you need to do to install it. or implement it into your configuration file, and give you kind of a basic explanation of how to do things. Come down here, say you want to add some more hooks for events. You got manage docs, debug, you've got focus, float next, all this stuff. Again, you just click on the one you want. It walks you through how to install it and set it up. Some are more convoluted and complicated than others, but for the most part, this will give you all the information you need. So this is a really good resource to actually be paying attention to if you're going to use XMonad. But as of right now, as you can see, this is a nice simple configuration file that has pretty decent functionality to it. We've got key bindings, we've got layouts, we've got spacing, and we've got auto start functions. So the only thing we're missing is a bar and some scratch pads, and I could be living in this thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got some good knowledge out of it, and you're not quite as worried about trying to use XMonad. But I know this wasn't a full in-depth complete configuration, but this should give you a really good base on how to get going with it and what you can actually do with it and where to find some good documentation for it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you found it useful. So you guys have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week. Stay safe, and God bless.